classroom must and will become an arena of conflict between the old and the new. The rotting corpse of Christianity, he says, together with its adjacent evils and misery, and the new faith of humanity and humanism will arise. How do you know they refer to Christianity as the dying corpse? Listen to this. Is this what's happening? John Dewey, remembered for his efforts in establishing America's current educational system, was one of the chief signers in the 1933 Humanistic Manifesto. It seems the humanists have been interested in America's education system for nearly a century. They have been absolutely successful in teaching children that God is imaginary and contrary to science. Secular humanism, main tool is an evolutionary thought. Secular humanism is manifested in evolutionary theory to satisfy the fundamental questions of where did we come from. Children are taught the doctrine of evolution. The first plank of the Humanist Manifesto states this: religious humanists regard the universe as self-existing and not created. The second plank, humanists believe that man is a part of nature and that he has emerged as a result of a continuous process. How many of you have ever killed a fly, an ant, a mouse? And how many of you know if we're just part of that nature of creation, how many of you know it's easy to extinguish man and kill man? It's even easy to kill children before they're born because just in nature we kill things all the time. Certainly the public school system propagates the humanist doctrine, clearly an atheistic religion, and thus condemns the concept of God. This is an amazing irony. Creation science has been successfully kept out of the public schools by organizations such as the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, on the grounds that creation is religious and the government should not support the religion in any fashion. But yet, humanism has been elected as the current religion. In fact, evolution became, in a sense, a scientific religion. Almost all scientists have accepted it, and many are prepared to bend their observations to fit with it. When they do that, it reminds me of Vice President Biden recently saying that we choose truth over facts. How stupid is that? We choose truth over facts. That's moronic. In fact, evolution became, in a sense, scientific religion. Almost all scientists have accepted it, and many are prepared to bend their observations to fit it. Here's the last pieces, and don't miss this. Yet evolution has not been proved. In fact, it seems that the theory of evolution is contrary to established science. George Wald, another prominent evolutionist, a Harvard University biochemist and Nobel laureate, wrote, "When it comes to the origin of life, there are only two possibilities: creation or spontaneous generation. There is no third way. Spontaneous generation was disproved 100 years ago, but that leads us to only one other conclusion, that of supernatural creation. And they said, as a scientific body, we cannot accept that on philosophical grounds. Therefore, we choose to believe the impossible, that life arose spontaneously by chance." They're contradicting their own learning. Secular humanism, and here's some historical warnings. The primary focus of secular humanism is to exclude God from the potential answers in life. In this doctrine, a good idea for a free society. The founding fathers of the United States of America seemed to think not, and warned us against the type of philosophy. How many of you ever heard of Noah Webster? Noah Webster, anybody got a dictionary?
Yes.
Okay. Noah Webster, a founding father of education, wrote, "All the miseries and evils which men suffer from vice, crime, ambition, injustice, oppression, slavery, and war proceed from their despising or neglecting the precepts contained in the Bible." Then John Adams, the president, wrote this, "We have no government armed with power capable of contending with human passions unbridled by morality and religion. A variance, ambition, and revenge or gluttony would break the strongest cords of our Constitution as a whale goes through a net. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and a religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other than people who are moral or religious." Daniel Webster wrote, if we abide by the principles taught in the Bible, our country will go on prospering. But if we neglect the instructions and authority, no man can tell how soon a catastrophic event may overcome us and bury all of our glory in profound obscurity. Patrick Henry, powerful thing. Patrick Henry wrote these words, "It cannot be emphasized too strongly or too often that this great nation was founded by religionists, not by Christians." No, it's not what he said. But that's what has been printed. Our media has printed that. Let me help you right here. 92% of every Bible that's printed in the world comes out of China. And China's in the process of taking all the literary books that we grew up with, Moby Dick, Pilgrim's Progress, these kind of books, and they've gone through, filtered them all, and taken the use of God, the name of God, and the reference of God out of every one of those books. Now they're printing them, and they're sending them around the world. I only gave you two. There's literally hundreds. Instead, what he said is this: it cannot be emphasized too strongly or too often that this great nation was founded not by religionists, but by Christians. Not on religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. And the last is this: heed the warning, Churchill said, and speak up. Secular humanism has risen to the forefront of American thinking, and yet curiously, American theists remain strangely silent as they slowly lose their children to an atheistic doctrine. Winston Churchill commented on the results of such a lack of resistance: "If you will not fight for the right when you can win without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory will be sure and not so costly, you may come to the moment when you will have to fight with all the odds against you and only precarious chances of survival. There may be a worst case. You may have to fight when there is no chance of victory, because it is better to perish than to live as slaves." How many of you hear that today? Are you here? Let me bring it to a close, but let me sew it up so you'll understand what I just said to you. We have been miseducated. You see, you have a culture today going around wondering, saying, "I've been misunderstood." You're not misunderstood. You're miseducated. You're miseducated. If you were educated correctly, you would understand that you haven't really been misunderstood. You've just been miseducated. And our curriculum is the cause of our school systems to be so corrupt. Are you here? Are you here today? Yes. Could somebody amen me for a minute? Yes. I'll give you $100 if you just every once in a while, Mel. Will you amen me? Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll pay up on that later. To those that are sleeping, I will not give you $1. Now, our curriculum was written by these very people called, don't miss this, you want to write it down maybe? Elite humanists. Now, there's a difference between just humanist and elite humanist. There is a group today called elite, and then they put something behind it. They're elites. You hear it used in the media. They're elites. But there is elite humanist. You need to get this. Some would call these same people, they will even use words like those that are the oppressors. You see, you have people like the Sharptons and those morons that are morally bankrupt and mentally midgets. And those people would try to sell the fact that it's the oppressor. But it's not the oppressor, it is the elite humanists that have set this agenda. Let me tell you a little further. Some would call these same people this, but what is the curriculum they're using? Curriculum is a system of information or transfer built on certain philosophies about life that is designed to produce a product just like the philosophy they're selling. How many of you hear that? My book is a collection of philosophy of my belief systems in the Bible and in the Lord Jesus Christ. I put it in a book, and it's a truth from God's Word. And how do you know when they create a curriculum, they take and they put their philosophy, they have groups that sit down and write the curriculums. Hello? And they write those curriculums, and those curriculums are not choices. You don't get a choice to not teach what's in the curriculum. Hello? We have teachers here. And Shawnee's one of them. She'll tell you. Those teachers will tell you in this room that when you're in that setting, you have a curriculum and you follow the curriculum. If you don't follow the curriculum, they're not going to let you teach. Because, see, everything they have is invested in the philosophy that they've been working with since 1930. Now watch. So the curriculum designed by these elite humanists was designed for their children. You say, wait a minute, what do you mean? The humanists, the elite humanists, designed the system for their own children. Watch. But with an exception to it. They needed raw material to experiment on, so they allow our children to come into the laboratories of their learning so that they can test out their product. So if I can keep your children stupid and you continue to let them do that and give you a certificate of achievement or some other goofy thing, you handed something, said they graduated. They didn't graduate. What do you mean they graduated? They can't even fill out a job description. Don't tell me they got an education. Listen to me. They can't even read. I talk to them and they listen. Here's what they tell me. These young people say, I don't read anymore. I just put it on an e-book and it reads it to me. Hello? So if it's reading it to you, how many of you know they can tell you anything they want to tell you? So the elite humanist is born in the home of these humanists, the children are. So the humanist child is born to think like the elite humanist. So what they do is they have the system, they train their children in the system, so their children will propagate that system until their children become the teachers that we're living with today. The AOCs. So this elite humanistic child is born to think like their elite privileged parents. If they're trained to say, I'm somebody, I'm a boss, I'm awesome, I'm in charge, I'm powerful. You don't believe that? Look at the college scandal that's just still going on, and I can't believe the media is not covering it, where these elite Hollywood money people were buying their way into Ivy League and other kinds of schools, and they were paying stupid money, millions of dollars, to get their kid on a soccer team, a girl on a soccer team, and never did she have to play soccer, not once, but it gave her a scholarship and it got her into the school. And you think that's one? And so all of a sudden, we have the elites being just driven to make sure they change the culture of America. Do you remember former President Obama, when he was at his inauguration, he declared he was going to change America. And he was going to change the way America thought. Hello. Now, let me show you something. These schools are wealthier than some nations. Hello. Some of these schools have endowments that are going back into the 1700s, that they were given money. People in Harvard, there's money coming back in from Harvard in the 1800s, early 19, I mean, it's billions. Hello. Now, these schools are wealthier than nations. They are producing and reproducing themselves around the world. I mean, the greatest thing to do is go to Harvard. How many of you know that the man who ordered the attack on Pearl Harbor was at Harvard University for 5 years? And when he went home, he was so angry that no one told him about the God of America, that he went home in anger and ordered the attack on Pearl Harbor. He became the general, and he ordered the attack. And he says in his writings, it says that he did it because he was so angry that going to an American school, no one would tell him about the God that made America exceptional. Think about this, saints. Think about Africa and Asia. Just two groups of people. Look at the fact that they have bought into this thing to make sure they drive their kids, to make sure their kids go to college.